Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to the Whiskey Cove. And on today's episode, we talk about my top 10 bourbons for beginners. Whether you're trying to build your collection, build your palate, or just want something fine to drink. These are my top 10 bourbons for beginners. Run the video. Alrighty then folks, thank you for everybody at home for joining us for what is a very new and exciting episode of the Whiskey Cove. And on today's episode, we talk a little bit about my personal recommendations or my favorite top 10 bourbons for beginners. And we'll also be giving some recommendations on other whiskeys if you can't find these 10. So definitely hold tight to the end. And if you're not a subscriber, definitely consider being one as we push out excellent content for you folks at home, hand delivered, hand sealed with a bow right to your screen. Whether that's whiskeys to look out for the forthcoming months, whiskey reviews, blind battles, you name it, we have it all. But with that being said, before we get into today's video, we have a quick note from today's sponsors, and that is Into the AM. Into the AM offer premium apparel for people like us, you, me, everybody. And they reached out to us here at the Whiskey Cove and they noticed that maybe we were getting a little bit fit, we were working out, and they felt that maybe these clothes were a little bit too baggy for us. So they wanted to send us some clothes and so we can talk about it on the channel a little bit. So they sent us this, which was pretty awesome because, to be fair, it fits absolutely phenomenally. I'm an extra large and as you can see, it fits pretty damn good, but it wasn't quite Whiskey Cove enough for us here. So they also sent us these. Also has kind of like the Whiskey Cove vibe, which is what I really like about Into the AM. They offer really great premium shirts at excellent prices, and it kind of has some of the Whiskey Cove vibes. And then also this excellent fitting t-shirt as well. And as you can see, kind of has those Whiskey Cove's vibes here as well, but there's some more too. And then lastly, this one, which is my absolute favorite. It kind of looks like it needs to be the official unofficial shirt of the Whiskey Cove. They do a lot of shirts that vary in price from anywhere from like $10 to up to $25. But for you folks at home, for the subscribers of the Whiskey Cove, they're doing 3 shirts for $60 and you can save 10% off by using the code Whiskey Cove. So go ahead and go on over to intotheam.com/Whiskey Cove. The link is on the screen and also in the description down below. Use code Whiskey Cove and then get 10% off your first order. And to be honest, even though that Into the AM, and we thank them for this or sponsoring this episode alone, I think you'll see a lot of these shirts quite consistently in the Whiskey Cove videos to come because I just love the fit. And so the long subscribers out there notice, so have also know that I've been working quite hard to lose some weight in the gym as well, and these just kind of fit perfectly for that. So if you want to support the Whiskey Cove and you want some awesome premium shirts, go on over to intotheam.com/Whiskey Cove. Use code Whiskey Cove for 10% off. With that being said, what an episode we have for you folks at home, because during the intro we talked about 10 of the best bourbons for beginners. So we kind of did a video a little bit like this going back last year, but we had Ross here, who sometimes comes onto the channel, but those whiskeys were mainly specifically delivered for him. However, these are going to be probably my best top 10 bourbons for beginners with some alternatives too. But with that being said, these are just some of the whiskeys that I've tried. So if I've missed any, definitely let us know down below. With that being said, bottle number 1, Early Times Bottled in Bond. Okay, this is a hard whiskey to get for some people. In Colorado, I can go into say 95% of liquor stores here and find this bottle of whiskey for MSRP, around $25. You should probably expect a little bit less if it's true MSRP. However, Colorado tends to have a higher MSRP. Some places $30, but a lot of you have been telling me down in the comments below that you can't find this bottle of whiskey. It's a phenomenal drink in whiskey. It's a daily sipper, it's a Friday night pour. It's a 1 liter bottle too. It is strawberry cupcakes, it's quintessential bourbon. I think this is becoming my new kind of favorite budget bottle, if you like. If you can't find the Early Times Bottled in Bond for like $25, my recommendation would be the Wild Turkey 101. I think more and more I'm drinking Wild Turkey. I don't think that necessarily the palate is for me. However, game recognizes game, right? I think Wild Turkey 101 is a great sipper, not as good as Early Times Bottled and Bond in my opinion, but I paid like $16 for this. Expect to pay $21, $22 for it. It has a little bit more spice, maybe a little bit more peanut than this one, but if you can't find this, you're not gonna miss too much with that one. That is Wild Turkey 101, Early Times Bottled and Bond, if you can find it. Next up, let's go down to Maker's Mark. Maker's Mark Cask Strength. Okay. So you have the Early Times Bottled and Bond, you can sip that any day. This is a little bit something special in terms of whiskey across the board. Oh yes, you can find allocated whiskey, which is fantastic, yes, XYZ. But in terms of going into a store, picking up a good bottle of whiskey, pay money for it, and the whiskey exceeds the money that you pay for it, Maker's Mark Cask Strength hits home every time. So here at the Whiskey Cove, we did a blind with like 10 different Maker's Mark. This came second, which tells you everything you need to know, saying that some of those other Maker's Mark are like $90. It just has almost like a nice grassy bubble gum, a sweet apple note. An excellent bottle of whiskey coming in at 56.25% ABV or 112.5 proof. Yes, if you're a beginner, you don't want to get too much punchy whiskey, but what this offers you is a barrel-proof wheated bourbon. So if you can't find this, and I know that some states don't have the cask strength Maker's Mark, you can definitely go ahead and try to find one of these. Yes, this is the wood finishing series from back in 2019, but I'm not specifically talking about this. I'm just talking about any of the wood finishing series in general, because they kind of pump these out at significant times throughout the year. You might be able to pick one of these up for about $65, about $10 more than the Maker's Cask Strength. But like I said, some states it might be a little bit difficult for that. If you can find this, definitely get this, but this is an equally fantastic alternative, especially the BRT02, if you can find that. Has like a lot of toffee, double oak, barrel char notes to that. So some excellent offerings from Maker's Mark, but definitely try to find the cask strength if you're new to bourbon. And next up, we're gonna delve into a cornerstone of the bourbon world here, and this video wouldn't be complete without a Buffalo Trace. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna make the asterisks for a lot of these whiskeys here, but when I talk about these bourbons, I think every bourbon mostly is findable on this list here in Colorado. I know in some states that's not always the case, but Buffalo Trace, you can find it here very consistently for $25, $26. Falls right in line with a lot of the budget whiskey, but also fantastic whiskeys that we do have here. Offers a little bit of spice, some berry notes there, but then the quintessential bourbon vanillas and oak to boot there. If you can't find that, and this other bottle might be a little bit of a reach, but however, we will include it. That is the Bowmans Brothers Small Batch. If you're out east on the East Coast, New York, New Jersey, North Virginia, Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and also Arizona and California, you should be able to find this bottle for MSRP. And a lot of those states, I see this bottle harder to find and more expensive than this bottle. So if you can't find the Buffalo Trace, definitely go for the Bowman Brothers Small Batch. It is the same distillate as Buffalo Trace. Of course, they send it out to Bowman's Brothers, they redistill it and then age it. So it's very similar. The price will cost you probably $5 to $10 more. However, if you can't find this or if it's ridiculously marked up, then the Bowman's Brothers a small batch is an excellent alternative there. Moving on, and we have E.H. Taylor Small Batch. Probably the most allocated bottle on this list. What is an allocated bottle? So an allocated bottle is that you generally just don't see it sitting on shelves. You'll see it from time to time maybe get released, but it's always kind of what I like to call a handshake bottle. You usually have to know someone to be able to get it. MSRP on this guy is gonna be about $40 to $50. However, you'll see it considerably marked up pretty consistently. However, if you're able to find it for MSRP and you're a beginner whiskey nerd, or you're trying to get into that, or you want to be a wannabe bourbon aficionado, and you can find these for MSRP, never sleep on them, because they kind of pay for themselves after a while. Much like the Buffalo Trace, they have a little less spice than that, but very quintessential Buffalo Trace vanillas, waffle cone vanillas, a little bit of creme brulee, beautiful wood throughout, and just a very easy sipper. Like I said, very difficult to find, but if you can't find this, go over to a local Costco that sells alcohol, and I can almost guarantee you will find this bottle, because we did a bunch of Costco hauls recently, and we saw this at every Costco. It ranged between $39.99 to like $47, so very similar to the H-Tailor. For me, I feel like the H-Tailor is a better whiskey, but in terms of an alternative, it stands up, and this is a pretty strong one. It does carry a 7-year age statement there as well. For the price, and just being able to walk into a liquor store and finding it for $40 to $45 for this bottle, I think it is worth it, definitely. I had these before in a blind. H-Tailor Small Batch did win, but this was very close as well. It does have a different profile because it does come from Heaven Hill, so maybe a little bit more spicy, maybe a little bit more cinnamon forward, and maybe like a peanut shell note there as well, but in its own stands up to H-Tailor Small Batch. And before we move on to some bottles, you can see we did a quick wardrobe switch, and as you can see, it matches a lot of what we do here on the Whiskey Cove. Don't forget, use the code Whiskey Cove at the link below. With that being said, let's move on to some Brown-Forman products. Now we went with Old Forester 100. Going to cost you between $20 and $25, and wow, what a bottle of whiskey. This is a great bottle of whiskey for the price. And if we're talking $20 to $23, only early times for me personally comes close to this bottle. You can use it in a cocktail because it has the 100 proof. It definitely stands up there. It also has like some bubblegum, banana, walnut, bready notes. It's a phenomenal bottle for that price. However, you should be able to find this bottle, but if you can't, it does have its own sister which tastes very similar, and that is of course Cooper's Craft 100. Very similar in price, very similar in taste, same distiller or same company, Brown-Forman, that owns it. Literally, if you can't find this, just get this, and it kind of almost tastes the same. It's the same price there too. And next up, we go and look at some barrel proofs. Let's step it up a little bit. We went with Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. Yes, this one is the Elijah Craig C923, which is probably the best one since B520, in my opinion. 13 years and 17 months old. However, let's just talk about the barrel proofs in general. I think the whole Elijah Craig Barrel Proof lineup, MSRP is about $70. You'll probably pay a little bit more now that this bottle has done so well. But if you're thinking like a 10-year to 13 or 14-year age whiskey, even though it says 13 years and 7 months on the bottle, that's the least age that is in this bottle. That could go up to 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. So the age statement you see on the bottle represents the youngest distillate that is in there. So if you take that into consideration, even some of the other releases that have been 10, 11 years old, you can expect some spectacular whiskey in them. So $70, you should be able to find this in most states. However, if you cannot find this, get the Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof Bourbon. It's a Tennessee whiskey, and it is also a bourbon. They file the patents every year. Let's not get into that argument today. However, this you'll find on basically every shelf, most shelves I should say. And definitely, if you can't find the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, definitely get this. This shares some of the flavor profiles from the Old Forester and the Cooper's Craft 100. Bubblegum, banana, fresh baked caramel banana bread. It is beautiful. It is dessert-like whiskey. Grab any one of these two if you're looking for a true barrel proof whiskey to add to your collection. So then with one quick wardrobe change, and again, look how well this shit fits. With a few more bottles left for you, and this list would not be complete I feel like we say this like a couple of times a month. Old Forester 1910. So if you're looking for a true double oak toasted bourbon for an affordable and findable price, $50 to $55 for this bad boy. As you can see, it's kind of running out. I think we have a backup here at the Whiskey Cove. Toasted marshmallows, Rice Krispie bars, cherries. It's just a fall night with the campfire and some s'mores. It's a beautiful whiskey. Should be findable, much like the Old Forester 100. But if for whatever reason you can't, then I would suggest going with the Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. We could have said, I guess, the Elijah Craig Toasted here, or Michter's Toasted. I think the Michter Toasted series is a little bit too hard to find. And the Elijah Craig Toasted, probably my least favorite toasted whiskey, say, out of these trio. So that's why I went for the Woodford Reserve Toasted. I think it offers very similar notes to the 1910, but the 1910 is just so exquisite. It just has that va-va-voom and that X factor. However, this generally runs a little cheaper. Maybe you can find it below $50. And you should definitely be able to find this Woodford Reserve Double Oaked in every store. But if you can find the 1910, definitely get that instead. So then just two selections left. The penultimate one, if you like, is the Russell's Reserve 10. $35 give or take. It definitely has, like I said at the beginning of the video, more of that like wild turkey, a little bit spicy, a little bit more peanut, cinnamon funk. It's not necessarily my palate, but if I'm looking for a 10-year aged whiskey at an excellent value, then you can't really see past this. 45% ABV or 90 proof is just an absolute kicker of a whiskey. However, there is one bottle of whiskey that if you can't find this, you probably won't be able to find this other one anyway, but let's talk about it. That is, of course, Eagle Rare 10-year. From the Buffalo Trace Distillery, aged 10 years, 45% ABV, 90 proof, like the Russells, does take on a similar, or excuse me, a different palate. It is a lot less spicy. It is more vanilla and Woodford and cherry and apples. However, you should be able to find the Russells a little bit more, but if like heck, you know, you're just like, I can only find Eagle Rare for $35, $40, definitely get that one as well. So then the last two bottles on this list, and that is going to be Old Grandad Bonded. So we did an Old Grandad video where we blinded the Old Grandad 114, the Bonded, and then the 80 proofer, and we were very happy with the results of that. I feel like the nose of all those whiskeys were fantastic. Like the nose of the 80 proofer was phenomenal. The nose of the Old Grandad 114 was also phenomenal. I felt like the Bonded did a really good job at pulling all those flavors in and creating a very well balanced whiskey that offers you a little bit of spice, but then on the nose offers you some pears and apples there as well. And for like $21, $22 for a 1 liter, and I wouldn't say this quite rivals the early times, but it's definitely growing on me. If you can't find the Old Grandad Bonded, get this bottle. That is the Old Grandad, just a straight whiskey. Yes, the palate on this does fall a little bit short, but man, I could nose this whiskey for days. This has like, I don't want to go too crazy on this video, but I would say this is in the top 3 the bottles we've seen today in terms of the nose. It just has this wonderful like citrus, pears, apples, cherries. It's so bouquet forward in terms of like the fresh fruit on the nose. Yes, on the palate it does fall off and you don't get much spice, but what a great whiskey to sip. So hopefully you've enjoyed today's video, and if you can believe it, yes, we offered alternatives which are in here, but all the first bottles, so those 10 bottles, the first bottles that we introduced you can get for like below $450 together, which averages about $44 a bottle, which isn't too bad. If you're really trying to build your whiskey or bourbon collection for $440 for 10 excellent bottles of whiskey, you're not gonna go wrong. So if you're watching this and you're kind of like, bottle of whiskey should I buy next, or what bottle of bourbon should I buy next, and you don't have one of these 20 bottles, then this is definitely a list for you to work towards. So again, thank you to Into the AM for sponsoring this video and providing us with some excellent shirts. Going over to Into the AM /The Whiskey Cove or Whiskey Cove. Link is down below in the description, and go and get yourself 10% off some excellent premium shirts. With that being said, as we drink through the world's whiskies one glass at a time, thank you for joining us. Cheers.